Welcome to a new episode of The Impact of Mindset. I'm really excited to be joined with Nikki Knierim today, who's from Mummy Fit Time. So welcome, Nikki. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me on.
My pleasure. It's been really good to reconnect again. For those that are tuning on in, Nikki and I first connected when she invited me to be part of her community, which is really lovely to return the favour now and be on the podcast with me. So thank you so much.
No pleasure. Thanks again for inviting me.
So today, really want to talk about making time for exercise because there's so many high-performing women that have businesses or maybe are trying to do the side hustle and while working in a high-performing role, but they know the importance of exercise, and you just have this super niche area in personal training where you provide that for women. So I'd love you to share with us what you do and how you go about doing that.
Absolutely. Okay. So I guess as a way of getting to know me and what I do, so my business, as you said, is Mummy Fit Time, where I focus on providing women with the tools and strategies to be able to move forward with their health journey and in this case around exercise, and work through the different barriers that might come up, whether they're conscious or unconscious thoughts around exercise, but identifying those and then coming up with the strategies to work through those to make exercise possible. Because like you said, I think a lot of people out there know why they should be exercising. They that know the benefits, but it's finding the time to do that when we are wearing so many hats and we've got so many expectations placed on ourselves. It's very easy to say, okay, well, I'll exercise later on in the day, and then you get to 9 p.m. at night and you think, well, where did the day go? I didn't do my exercise. I'll do it tomorrow, and then the cycle just continues. So, yeah, that's, I guess, what I do. A summary of what I do and how I focus on helping women. So, did you want me to just dive in with some strategies and different ways of tackling exercise?
Yeah, you're welcome to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, well, as a starting point, I think it comes down to our expectations around what exercise actually is and why it is that you're doing this exercise. So, for a lot of women, doing exercise is not training for a marathon. It's
Mhm.
a running marathon. It might mean not training for this massive endurance triathlon that you're planning on doing. For a lot of women, exercise is simply trying to move more in the day so that they can reap the benefits of all the health benefits and the mental health benefits as well of doing exercise. So we need to let go of our expectations around what constitutes an exercise session. If you're wanting to exercise or move more in your day simply for the health benefits, then you don't necessarily need to stick to that traditional 60-minute gym session that everybody thinks should be is a decent workout. And that's probably the most common question that I'm asked is, well, is doing a 15-minute workout going to be effective? And the simple answer is yes, if your goal is to be moving more in your day. If your goal is to be training for a marathon, well, maybe a 15-minute exercise session is not going to be the most beneficial for you. But for majority of us, we're just trying to move more in our day. So first of all, letting go of the expectation of what you should be doing in terms of a workout, because a workout is not that necessarily a 60-minute sweat session in the gym.
Yeah, I love that because I think there is that like kind of giving away of the commitment sort of already before we start because um, I don't know how I can make that happen. Um,
Mm.
where do I find the time? Time's the biggest word we throw out there when we're trying to improve ourselves in terms of personal development.
Yeah.
Um, but also the perceptions that we have connected to what a workout is, I think, so significant. Like, I've learned that for myself as well. Like, walking, I never used to count as a workout.
Yes.
And it's a very important workout, and it's very different from like high intensity session or a weight session, and it has its own purpose. So it's so important, what you just shared there about changing that perception around what we're trying to get out of our workouts, and also what we think about what a workout is, so we can commit to that more.
Yeah, absolutely. And once you let go of those expectations around what you think a workout is, it does open up a whole world of different things that you could be doing, such as the walking that you had just mentioned before. How often do we walk in our day? Whether intentional walking or just incidental walking, we're doing it throughout our day. So you are moving your body through the day. Yes, you might not be getting that sweat session going on there, but you are moving your body, and every bit of movement is better than no movement at all.
Yeah. So what are some of those other strategies that you have as well?
So I mentioned incidental a moment ago through walking. So one strategy that you can look at towards moving more in your day is introducing incidental exercise. So incidental exercise is getting more movement happening incidentally. So not necessarily planned movement like going to the gym. So for an example of that would be uh, say, for example, you might park the car at the back of the shopping centre car park and walk to the shops rather than try to find the car park closest to the shopping centre door. You might take the stairs instead of the lift or the elevator. You might choose to walk down to the shops instead of taking the car. You might, if you've got children, you might go into the backyard and kick the football back and forth, or take the dog for a walk. All of those things are incidental exercise opportunities through your day. So they're a really good way of increasing the amount of movement that you're doing through your day. So that's my first tip. But then I like to build on that. And I've introduced a term called intentional incidental exercise. So, intentional incidental exercise is taking advantage of those incidental moments that you find in your day where you might be doing something. You might be doing something where you're kind of on pause or mindlessly. For example, you might have boiled the kettle and you're waiting for the kettle to boil. So what do most people do? Well, we stand there with our phones and scroll through Facebook, don't we? So what you could be doing instead is intentionally taking advantage of that incidental moment where you can bring in some exercise, bring in some movement. So don't scroll. You could do some squats instead. You might choose to go up against a bench and do some push-ups, or you might even do something as simple as marching on the spot. That's moving much more than if you were just standing there scrolling aimlessly.
Yeah.
So taking advantage of intentionally taking advantage of those incidental moments in your day. If you're watching Netflix at the end of the day, well, what's something you could be doing there? Could you be going through a gentle stretch as you're watching the TV? Could you, if you're watching commercial television, every time the ad breaks come on, instead of picking up your phone and scrolling aimlessly again, could you be up doing some type of extra movement? For me, I came across this particularly when my children were young. The most boring part of the day for me was when they were having their bath at night time, because I couldn't leave them in the bath. They were too little to be left, but I was just sitting there like, oh, I've got so much to do. And you're going through your to-do list, just wasting time. So I would do a little bit of incidental exercise while I was supervising them in the bath. So, marching up and down, doing some squats, doing some tricep dips or whatever it might be. But just, moving more.
I love that. It really adds up to you. I know at the moment I don't have children, but I am doing the virtual stomp challenge, and we've got to do 5,000 stairs, and I set the target to do 30,000.
Yeah.
And if you don't be intentional, it's easy for you to go, wow, I've got to catch up on my stairs.
Yep.
But they have a rule within it that you can do squats or steps. A squat equals a stair.
Yep.
And a step up and down equals a stair. So, like I put on the telly and when the ads are on, or even when the show's going, I just do it and I'm still fully engaged. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, I just did my 1,000 stairs.
Yeah.
Quick. That was so easy. It went fast. I was doing something I would have already been doing anyway. And it didn't feel like exercise too.
Exactly.
Just
Yes.
really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another mindset barrier, isn't it? Of a lot of people don't want to exercise because they're going to get sweaty. Perfectly fine. We're busy. We probably don't even have time to change after we've done an exercise session. But if you're doing something where you don't even realize that you're exercising, don't even realize that you're moving and accumulating your 1,000 stairs, then that's wonderful.
Yeah. And I think even if you're if you don't have children, but you're going to, have them in future, it's good to build those habits now so that you can have that incidental movement in there. I mean, you're probably not going to put your puppy in the bath and practice the incidental movement. Who knows? You never know, right?
I'm sure it's like bathing children, trying to keep them in without splashing, going everywhere.
Oh, cool. So, how do you find that people go with making that shift to do this often?
I think it comes down to conscious thought and be conscious of the amount of movement that you are actually doing through your day. So now that we've had this conversation and people have been able to listen to that, you're going to be a lot more conscious of those times when you are standing around or just bringing into that conscious thought of how can I make what I'm doing right now into some greater movement patterns? How can I move more with what I'm doing? But I also wanted to touch on another tip that I've got, which is bringing in more time in your day with exercise, but without adding to your to-do list as such. And that is through chunking. So we've got our incidental exercise and our intentional incidental exercise, and that's just consciously being aware of those things. But when it comes to trying to make sure that you are doing movement through your day and regular movement, consistent movement every day, then I bring in chunking. So chunking is chunking together little bits of time in your day. So being busy people that are listening to this podcast, no doubt you're already doing some form of chunking where you do some focused work on, say, XYZ over here, and then you might do some focused work on ABC over here or whatever it might be. So with chunking, it's a similar concept. It is taking chunks of time to do some conscious movement. So, for example, you might do 5 minutes in the morning when you get out of bed, and you do 5 minutes of movement then. So that movement could be anything. It could be doing some stretching. It could be doing some Tai Chi. It might be doing the good old squats, whatever it might be. And then around morning tea time, you might find another 5 minutes in your day. And then the same thing after lunch and then of an evening. At the end of the day, you've done 20 minutes of focused exercise through your day. It's been broken up into small chunks, but it's accumulated over the day. It's like what you've just said around the doing the squats and the steps. Every little bit that you're doing through your day accumulates. And I find this technique really good for two reasons. The first is, one, you can start developing that into a habit. So just like you get up in the morning and the first thing you might do is go to the toilet, or you might go brush your teeth or whatever it might be, but it's an unconscious pattern that you do. So if we're doing some chunking in your day where you get up, you go brush your teeth, and then you do 5 minutes of exercise, because 5 minutes of exercise really is not a huge amount of time taken out of your day. It can be easier to find 5 minute chunks through your day than say a 20-minute chunk first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
So it becomes a habit once you do that consistently and you're doing that over and over. But another great reason why it is so good for people that are busy is because you're able to schedule that in. And I know busy people tend to work off schedules. Well, I do anyway. So my day is quite scheduled out. So if I've got scheduled in the morning that I'm going to get up and do a 5 minute exercise, I'm more than likely to do that. And because it's scheduled in and I know it's only 5 minutes, it's really not going to take much time up in my day. The likelihood of me doing that is much higher. Plus, at the end of your day, you can see how much chunks of time you've done. So you're not getting to the end of the day and going, oh, I didn't do my exercise. I'll try again tomorrow. So you can see it accumulate through the day. It's just going to lead to much greater consistency.
Yeah. And that consistency will make you feel more confident and build your confidence as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. The more you do it, yeah, absolutely. The more you do it, the more confident you're going to become, and the more it becomes part of your everyday patterns as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Because getting up and doing, and you moving straight away. I've heard it often on different high performers that say they get up and they do their push-ups, maybe one week and the following week they do a different movement. And it's just given that's what they do before they go and wee. And
Yeah.
even sometimes if they're busting, it motivates them to hurry up and get done whatever it needs to be done. And I think that the time frame that you've mentioned is really important too, because I know when I have days that are super busy, when you think about, even though 20 minutes doesn't sound huge, you think, well, 20 minutes is enough for me to do this business task.
Yes.
So I can push this back, but 5 minutes is not like 5 minutes is like, it's 5 minutes. Can 5 minutes really beat me,
Yes, yeah.
So it's not that mindset hurdle, even though ultimately, again, like I say, 20 minutes is not a massive amount of time. But when it comes to your schedule and how busy you are, it really does make a difference.
It does, absolutely. In fact, it's funny because just before we jumped onto this podcast, I did have that 5 minutes spare, and just like you've said, I had the choice of opening up my laptop and quickly getting done a quick email and responding to that email, or I could have been moving. So it's making those choices too. Of well, if I'm able to squeeze responding to this email in that 5 minute time frame, why can't I get up and just do a little bit of movement in that time frame as well? It does make it much more it does make it seem much more achievable.
Yeah, I think that choice that you just mentioned is really important too, because so often we go throughout the day, we think this particular thing's stressing me out, or my tech, or I don't have time between clients or whatnot. But sometimes we have that buffer and we're sitting there, like you said, with the whole sitting near our children in the bath and mulling over everything, instead of recognizing, first of all, the benefits of moving our body and getting that in, to have just that little bit more space in our head to be able to approach what we're doing next. So much better.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, just building on that, excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. Just building on that, when you do get that little bit of extra movement in, it gets the blood flowing through your circulatory system. It gives you a rush of endorphins. It wakes you up more. You can get then greater clarity around, well, what is the next business task that I'm going to move to? My best business ideas come to me when I am moving, because it does give you that little bit of space of being out of your head and going, blah, 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 around in your head, trying to think of all the things that have got to be done. And because you're off doing something else, it just gives your brain more of a chance to really let the thought processes go round and have deep thinking there.
Oh my God, yeah, I totally get that. I did a little dorky test with myself a couple of months ago, the difference between different workouts.
Mm,
So mine was definitely intentional workout. And so I did a difference between walking and a high intensity session.
yeah,
The day that I did the high intensity session, I wrote 13,000 words for my book. Boom.
yeah,
It's just like, it's like I'm being on steroids without taking anything nasty for my body,
yeah. Isn't that amazing?
which was pretty darn cool. I'd never done anything like that before, but
Yeah,
to also be, I guess, intentional about what are the results when you do take that, it doesn't have to be a hit session, but when you do take that 5 minutes
mm,
and reflect on it later on, I think would help with that feedback loop that you're reinforcing with your clients as well, about that positive habit change.
yeah, absolutely.
So how do you go with mothers who have all that crazy societal pressure of like, you've got to drop your baby weight like in 2 seconds flat?
Yes.
You're coming in with like your strategies that are different, that in their head they've got all these perceptions and thoughts about what they need to do so they don't have everyone piling their crap on them. How do you deal with that?
Oh, that's a loaded question, isn't it?
You get time.
That's yeah. There's so much unpacking there because one of the things that I am super passionate about as well when I'm helping women is enforcing the concept or reinforcing the concept that you don't need to lose all that baby weight, especially not instantly. I'll reframe that: you don't need to get your body back. I
Mhm.
absolutely hate that term because your body has never gone anywhere.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, yes, I agree. There's a lot of societal pressure on women once they've had children to then um, become, be able to juggle the person that they were before, but also be able to juggle this new person that they are as a mum in their mum role. And then they've got to lose all of this body weight and fit into their old clothes and all of these external pressures that are going on. In terms of mindset and getting through that, my biggest tip would be to surround yourself with people that are not placing those expectations on yourself, and try to distance yourself from social media or other influences that are coming your way that is almost making you expect, not making you expect, but placing these expectations on you. So that would be my first tip around that. But when it comes to implementing what I've been speaking about around the intentional exercise and the small chunks of time and things like that, again, it comes down to specifically what your goal is. And if your goal is to drop, I don't know, a certain number of dress sizes or whatever, then you might need to change out around the type of workouts that you're doing. But I'm going to get really honest here. As a new mum, it can be really difficult to find that time. We're not all celebrities who have got a chef on our hand 24/7 and a personal trainer sitting over there and a nanny who's going to look after the kids so that you can do all these things. We've got to do that stuff ourselves. So try to take away those expectations of how you should be and start to implement just opportunities for you to move more through your day. As a new mum, you're probably going to find that you're not moving as much as you used to because you're spending a lot of time sitting, either rocking your children to sleep or um, uh, comforting them or whatever, feeding them. So you might find that you're not going to move as much. So just taking advantage of those small chunks of time. And as a mum, you're going to, for me, finding those small chunks of time was much more achievable towards helping me move more through my day, which is ultimately the goal that I was after, was moving more through my day. finding those small chunks of time was much more achievable than trying to get out the door and go to a 60-minute gym session when you're trying to juggle being a mum as well as all the other things you've got going on.
Yeah, I love that, because I think there's a focus people have on goals, and then people hear SMART goals and they're not quite sure how they make that happen, or they look at an example but don't make it specific to themselves. And then there's all those expectations there still, which are really, really hard. But the other part that I really loved about what you shared was that, and I connect with it even though I'm not a mum, is that your herd is really important. Who you're around is super important. Who you're listening to is important. But I think also your choice in personal trainer is exceptionally important, because I've had trainers over the years, and then that are really, really good. And I've also watched trainers training other people and thought I would not have them.
Yes. Yeah.
And, it's good to see that you bring compassion in with what you're doing, both with the structure and also talking to women about these expectations and removing them, and who should be in their environment, because there are some personal trainers out there that are just like, get on with it, move. Like, I don't want to hear it. And it's like, well, that's not really how we overcome how we feel. Like, the reality is, oh, are you still there? Okay, I've lost Nikki for a little minute there, guys. So I'll just talk for a moment. Hopefully she'll pop back in. The reality is with personal training is we tend to find that we have to, I don't know what happened. Oh, yeah. Back. Cool. Sorry. There we go. The reality is we tend to find with personal training is that we have to have the mindset included, and that mindset's not just go at it and have more grit and not think about where you're at in your head. Like, part of having grit and resilience is understanding where you're at.
Yeah.
And being able to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It is. I guess every trainer is very different. So if you are going to be working with a personal trainer as well, it's around finding someone that is going to work for you and really fit for you in the stage that you're at, the season of life that you're in at the moment as well.
Yeah. So I guess the other part I want to talk about, we talked about your chunking, your intentional exercise as well. But what about moving people from this thought of the end goal towards process goals instead?
So did you want to just reframe that a little bit so that I can understand the question?
Yeah, sure. So so a lot of women, for example, they think, I'd like to get back into my bikini, and that's their goal. And they're not focusing on, I would like to get, stronger, and my aim is to do 10 push-ups maybe.
Yeah.
That's the process on the path to becoming stronger.
Yeah. It can be really hard as women because, like you said, we do place those expectations on ourselves around how we feel we should look. But I think we also need to be aware that everybody's body is different, and everybody's body is going to respond different to different stimuli as well. And so when we're able to change our thinking around and not focus on, I want to fit this into this bikini and look a certain way in this bikini, but I want to be able to achieve doing 10 push-ups on my toes, that can be my brain just exploded in my mind just I had too many thoughts coming out at once. I couldn't get them out of my mouth. So, so when we are changing our thinking around what goals that we're wanting to progress to, there's two things that are going on there. The first is it becomes more achievable. So it's almost like the SMART goal that you mentioned there, where you'll be coming up with a goal that is achievable and that you're able to see the end goal a lot more clearer. You can see yourself progressing towards achieving that goal, and that can be really empowering. um, the rest just almost happens as a natural side effect. So, for example, if you're working towards a goal of being able to achieve 10 push ups, as you're working towards that goal, what is going to happen is you're working your muscles, you're expending energy to be able to do that. Your muscles are using energy to repair themselves. And so you're burning fat. So you're actually going to be edging towards that fitting into the bikini goal, by breaking down and coming up with more progress related goals where you're able to go, okay, I'm going to hit 10 push-ups and I'm going to do that by 2 months time. I'm not sure if I'm making sense here or if I'm just going around in
No,
circles.
you're making sense. You're making sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so it's good because then people can just focus on what are the small things that they can achieve, and then take that pressure off themselves of how do I want to look, because that pressure ultimately, at least in my head, comes from what we've kind of been taught as little girls, which is like, pick this person out of the magazine and say you want that body and see if you can get it, and then you're like, hold up, my DNA doesn't do that.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, it's really hard, the pressure that we place on ourselves and the pressure that society places on ourselves as well, to be able to look a certain way when I think it's only like maybe 10% of the population can achieve what you're seeing in magazines and on social media. Not everybody's body can achieve the same thing. Everybody is different.
Yeah. And then it comes back again to, adding that, I guess, that lens of reality on about what we're seeing, the bigger picture again about who's helping somebody else out when they're that mum, and then you got a whole other world we could go into of filters and all the rest, which is we don't don't really have time for right now.
Exactly.
The whole thing.
It's another podcast in itself.
And so there are a few different things that you offer for your clients. So would you like to sort of explain that? And then I'd love to hear about this awesome webinar you've got coming up too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do a few different things with clients. One of them is my membership, which is Reset and Thrive. And Reset and Thrive is around identifying identifying your ideal self, but also keeping that realistic based on the conversation we've just had around, well, your ideal self isn't necessarily this bikini body perfect image. It is the traits that you would like to see in yourself and the health traits you'd like to see in yourself. So we identify that, and then you go along a staged path where you are going through different stages of your health/fitness journey towards implementing changes, implementing habits, and creating consistent strategies towards achieving better health and fitness. So that's my membership that I have there. And then I also do training for women as well. So online training, as well as face-to-face training, virtual training at the moment as well. And that is my background is a personal trainer. So it's personal training, but I take a very holistic approach to that as well. I don't believe that exercise is the be all and end all when it comes to achieving health goals. So I like to look at other aspects that are happening in women's lives. Stress, what's showing up with stress? How is your sleep? How is your nutrition? How is your mindset at the moment? Touching base with like your mental health as well. So Yeah, that's just two of the things that I do. And then, of course, there's the webinar that you mentioned just a moment ago. So, this Wednesday, 22nd of September, I'm going to be running it's a webinar slash masterclass
Mhm.
where I am diving deep into strategies to help you to exercise more in your busy day and make exercise possible in your busy day. And it's not a webinar where I'm just talking at you for the full hour. It is a masterclass where we're getting in there with pen and paper. We're going to develop strategies together and then work through mindset barriers as well, to identify, well, what are some of those barriers that are also coming up in your day that are preventing you from even doing that 5 minute chunk of exercise? Because quite often, they're unconscious mindset barriers that we don't even realize that we're applying to ourselves through our day.
Yeah. That will be super helpful for people, and especially, changes in season. I would think that that's a webinar that people could access any time of year. It would be super helpful for them too.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. Oh, cool. That's really exciting. I'm sure that there will be people that tune into this podcast that would definitely benefit from finding out how to add more exercise into their day. And I reckon also, if you've got a new puppy, I know a few people that are getting new puppies like me at this point in time
Yeah,
that need to learn how to do that too. Because
absolutely.
it's really not just, I mean, I know your main group of people as mums, but it's also just whenever your lifestyle changes and you get that balance a little bit out of whack, that you need to kind of recalibrate your time to fit exercise in, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And it's not just for mums. It's for all women, men as well. Yeah, and it's around, yeah, recalibrating and having a look at, well, what's changed here and how can I um continue to move more in my day amongst all these changes that are going on.
Yeah, so important. And I love that your approach is holistic too, because you just can't, like we were talking about before, it's really hard to properly deal with physical health without having, mental health and nutrition and stress, especially added on
Mm.
top, especially with everything that's going on at the moment. It's very, very important. So I love that. It's been so cool connecting with you again and having a chat. It's been really, really, really lovely. So thank you so much.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
We'll make sure we put the links to your webinar this week and your socials and websites so everyone knows where they can connect with you.
Thank you.
And hopefully we have you again sometime as a guest for another chat. And this has been really lovely. I know that a lot of people get a lot of benefit out of it. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. This has been another episode with guest speaker Nikki from Mummy Fit. And please do leave a review or share with one or two friends if you've really enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much. Ciao.